Hello and welcome to my second session in this 100 photos in one evening challenge. So this is my second session in my one evening, and if you've missed my introduction to this challenge or the first session, I will have links to those videos below. And thank you to all my new subscribers for joining me, and I hope you are enjoying this challenge and this series with me. So here on this second session, the photos I'm using are all from one event, which is a camping trip. So these have been sitting in a box. I've had them already pre-printed. Some of them I did do a little bit of photo editing of at least making them 3x4s and putting them together on one 4x6 print, which I used PicMonkey, which is a free website that allows you to do that. So I did that ahead of time, again, years ago when I printed these. And some of them I left together, like I did here on those bottom two photos, and others I decided to cut apart. So that was helpful to have these printed together. It did save a little bit of time. So on this layout, this is new for me to have this many photos on one 12x12 page, which is again a nice thing that this challenge has opened my eyes to do. And again, it gives me a challenge to embellish, but not over embellish, because I do have a lot of photos here, and it's pretty busy for me anyway. So I did keep this layout very simple, and there is some blank space that I leave there. That big blank space in the upper left corner, I actually do leave it pretty plain, and that's just for me. I like having some clean areas for my eye to kind of rest. So again, on this layout I didn't do much so far. I just matted those few photos and I added that strip on the bottom to ground the layout, and I cut out those banners as well as this banner I'm placing here from the scraps in my little kit. And now I'm going to add the title, and I'm going to add it right on top of the photo here, and I'm just going to add a label and handwrite a little bit more for the title. And those foam letters are very unforgiving. You can see how crooked they are. I was planning on putting them down lightly and then pressing them down and fixing them a little bit, but they wouldn't budge once I placed them. So I didn't know that. They're stuck with where I put them. A little bit crooked, but I'm dealing with it. And I am just going to leave it. So I stamped the date there. And that Kelly Perky stamp set, I love it, and it has alphas and numbers, and so I added that to my little scrapbooking kit for this challenge, so I will be using it again, as well as these enamel dots. I just grabbed my dots since my first session as well, added it to my kit to save me the time of digging for them for the rest of this challenge. So I'm just adding a few to add embellishment and interest to this spread, and that will finish this first layout in this second session. So here's the details. This is my fourth overall layout. I got 6 more photos done, and it took me 15 minutes. So on to the next layout. So I'm starting with a craft cardstock, and I decided to mat all the photos onto this designer paper. This designer paper has been sitting in my stash for years and years and years. So it was one that I added to the kit so that I am forced to use it up. So what better way to use it than as a large photo mat? So I'm adding this green strip as well, almost as photo corners, kind of, large photo corner behind this large mat. It's another designer paper that's been in my stash forever and hard for me to use. I don't like the color green in general when I'm scrapbooking, so it is hard for me to use. So here I'm just showing you how I place that layer. I put adhesive on this huge mat, photo mat, and then I just line up the corners, and then now I can add adhesive to those two pieces and place it down as one large piece rather than trying to measure or line up those green pieces first and then try to put my large photo mat on top of it. So here I'm just adding a spot for my title, and I decided to use orange, again just for a pop of color to break up the green, the brown that was going on, and just to make the title stand out since it is on the bottom. So I'm adding these chipboard alphas, which I showed you in the past that I do have to add adhesive to the back of these so that they will stick well. That does take time, and it is included in the time it took me to make this layout, so I'm just showing you that I did have to do that with chipboard alphas. I'm adding some handwriting here just for the title. I probably normally would have maybe tried to stamp it out, but for this challenge, to keep my time low and quick, I just hand wrote it in. And then I'm going to add another label here as another embellishment. And again, just a little more handwriting to get what I want on it. So rather than dig through my stash to try to find, a sticker that said favorite or something like that, I just hand wrote it, which is much faster. And then a third label here will be my journaling spot. Unfortunately, I do remember a story that goes along with these photos, so it was nice to get that finally documented and written down. So I am adding a frame to this layout by outlining it with my black marker or pen. And then I decided to add wood veneer as embellishments on this page. So again, those were not originally in my little kit, but they were quick and easy for me to find. And again, that time for me looking for them, I did include in this layout. I didn't cut any of that time out. But because I knew exactly where they were, it went pretty quick. So here's the second layout. Very quick and easy. Fifth overall, 5 more photos, and this one took 16 minutes. So here is the third and final layout I got done in this session. This one has 5 photos on it, and I am using a sketch from my little sketches that I chose, but I'm just mirroring it over. So this is similar to the date night or the date in the city layout I did in session 1, but it's just reversed. So just letting you know that I am still trying to use those sketches as my base. So here I'm just using this designer paper, and again, if all else fails, just use the reverse side of a designer paper to get contrast, and most likely they do go together. So I just used the back here to get the 2 different colors and 2 different patterns on this one layout. I just glued down the photos, and then I'm just adding my title here. And I like to mix fonts and different alphas, so here I'm using my Teresa Collins craft alphas, and then using the same font alpha sticker for the third word. And then on this layout, I decided to cut out this sun. It was a little time consuming, but it wasn't that bad actually. It was a fairly simple cutout. I did cut out every single ray, as you'll see, but it didn't take that much time. So a quick embellishment without me having to dig for it. It was ready on the paper that I had chosen in my kit, and I think it adds a nice little pop of color there and visual interest to the layout. So now I'm also cutting out these little triangle shapes from the same designer paper. It was a square piece, and I just decided to cut apart the different colors and make like pennant banners out of them. So I'm just gluing them down here to on the bottom, just again to add a pop of color. And then I'm also cutting out some triangles from this designer paper, which is the same paper I used behind the photos, to give me a nice little arrow accent that perfectly matches. And again, I didn't have to dig through my stash to find those either. And then I didn't measure, but the mat, so that designer paper behind the photo was a little bit too narrow. So I added this little orange strip from the kit just to add a little border and a pop of color there to balance the layout. And so that will finish this third layout. So this is my 6th overall. 5 more photos down, and this one also took 16 minutes. So here's my grand total so far. I have 24 photos down, and I've taken up 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I hope you are enjoying this challenge, and will see me in my next session. Bye!